From the project Around the World in a Day, that is Prince and the Revolution with a song called Tambourine. And of course, yesterday, June 7th, would have been Prince's 60th birthday. And so we're, keeping the party going just a little bit, and celebrating the music and the message.
Yeah, I'm missing out. It's a shame he passed 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He would have been on the cover of AARP this week.
Oh, you know what? Stop. But I know that we'll talk a little bit later about a celebration that you have going on later this evening.
This evening, I was up all night, just getting ready. I'm amped up, watching Prince videos, and just getting excited about that.
Getting yourself in the spirit of it. But Mike Dennis is in the house, and it is time for this week's edition of Reelblack Radio. And we have a guest already on the line.
On the line, yes. Opening today in Philadelphia at the Ritz Bourse is a new movie called The Gospel According to Andre.
My mother once said to me, "You know that friend of yours, the African prince? I absolutely have never had a friend who's an African prince." Yes, we met him at that party. Andre.
You can be aristocratic without having been born into an aristocratic family.
I became familiar with Andre Leon through Vogue magazine. He's like a black superhero.
They give a nod to the God. But you're giving us a futuristic James Brown moment on the shoulders.
He's the Nelson Mandela of couture, the Kofi Annan of what you got on.
His bombastic personality.
Oh, this is a look.
Gave people energy themselves and to take risks.
Why are you being so low-key?
When Andre tosses out all these different words, a lot of people think, oh my God, this guy is crazy.
People's heads went, he was so many things he wasn't supposed to be, and they couldn't get around it.
And with us on the line is the film's director, Kate Novak. Hey.
Hello, Karen. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Kate.
Kate, I'm sorry.
Hi,
super retarded.
It's okay. Thanks so much for having me.
Sorry, Kate. I'll get it right.
Well, I was going to say the Andre that we're referring to in the film is Andre Leon Talley, who has styled and advised so many notable people. What made you decide that he was worthy of a film?
So I had seen Andre in fashion documentary after fashion documentary for about 20 years, and he's this larger-than-life character. He always steals the show, but he always was talking about other people, commenting on other people. And for so many years, he has been the only one in his industry, and by that I mean the only African-American man at his level of the fashion industry, although it's changing. And so I wanted him to tell that story on film, and so that really is what The Gospel According to Andre is about.
No, I love the film, Kate. What I like most about it is this is truly an American story. This is somebody who came out of Jim Crow South to become an icon globally within the fashion world.
I mean, absolutely. There's a sort of a canon of fashion documentaries, and it is a fashion documentary, but I actually think that Andre transcends fashion. And exactly as you said, he's an American success story, but he struggled, and I think that in the movie he shows that it perhaps wasn't as easy as he has made it look, and probably needed to make it look.
Right. And, that inner narrative, I think, is something that we can all really deeply appreciate in a week where we have seen two huge, entertainment or just, if we talk about celebrity icons, leave us. That this idea of what we know about people's story and about people's journey and what it takes to achieve high success and maintain high success, the way that it can wear on one's spirit, I think is something that people are now much more kind of receptive to even having the conversation.
I think you're right. It's funny because we live at a time of such transparency, supposedly, right, where everyone shares everything on social media, but there's so much that's hidden and so much pain. And, in the movie, Andre really, speaks about the racism that he faced in the fashion industry, which he really had not spoken about publicly before. And, I think that it's so important for that to happen.
Without question. Well, and in terms of getting this movie made, I think it's great now that we're in an era where the portability of the equipment, so many great stories are being told that couldn't be told, but Prior to this, I'm not a Vogue reader or anything like that. I'm not in that world, but I definitely know him from America's Top Model. I mean, was there a certain barrier of entry? Like, was it a tough sell, or was it just something you initiated?
So my producer, Andrew Rossi, is also a film director, and he had directed a film called First Monday in May about the Costume Institute at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And Andre is in that movie. And so we met Andre through the making of that film. And so there was already somewhat of a relationship between my producer and Andre and some trust there. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we went to lunch, and my pitch to Andre was really very sincere. You know, it was, we all know the sort of fabulous, hilarious Andre, and you see that in the film, but what I said is I want to see, you know, the other side and sort of peel away some of the layers of the onion. Andre does not. He likes to be compared to a pomegranate, not an onion. He doesn't like onions. But, you know, so I think that he operates on instinct, and the next day we got an email from him. He writes these amazing emails saying, you know, I don't know why, but I feel very trusting of you both. And the very first thing that he wanted to do was not show me his incredible closets, but take me behind his childhood church in Durham, North Carolina, and show me where he was baptized.
Yeah, and you know, that level of access and of honesty, I think, is really important, because one of the other things that I hope will come out of the tragedies that we've seen happen this week is a deeper understanding of the fact that there are the intimate details of the person who was born and grew into the icon. And for many people, the separate character that they create to hold the insecurities or the boldness that they feel is required in order to survive in their chosen industries. And that, you know, some people like to maintain, it might be wafer thin, but still that there is some level of separation between the public personality and icon and the deeper, more intimate person that they are when they go to sleep at night.
I mean, that's so interesting. You know, and we sort of, as people, have a right to privacy, right? We shouldn't need to have to share everything, but it's just so clear from what we have seen, even just in this past week, that there's a value in understanding the struggle that someone went through, the struggle that Andre went through. You know, that it wasn't always easy to be the only African-American man in this white world. So yeah, I mean, it's so meaningful, I think, to just see stories where that can be shared. Yeah,
and I really appreciate the candid nature that you're able to catch him in. You know, just you know, from just being very open about his weight gain and just again the pressure that he's been under over these years just to maintain that high standard. You know, was it difficult? I know, how long did it take you to shoot the film, and how long, you know, were there things that you didn't necessarily want to breach, or was he completely open?
So we filmed with him for about a year, and he never once said to me, I don't want to talk about that. He does sometimes open up and then quickly will turn back to talking about his career. But I actually think that is very revelatory of character, right? Some of the things that are so painful, we go there a little bit and then we turn away. And so that was really interesting to see. But one of the most candid moments in the film actually came at a moment that I did not expect it to occur at all. And we were in the Condé Nast archive looking through, you know, Vogue magazines from the issues that he had looked at as a 12-year-old boy, you know, as this kid in Durham, North Carolina, all the way through to when he wrote the Michelle Obama cover.
Yeah.
And, you know, toward the end of that shoot, it was a long, really great shoot. And toward the end of that shoot, he just became very emotional, and he talked about how, you know, for example, there was a nickname that was used for him behind his back, which was Queen Kong. that had been so, I think hurtful to him. And it was in that moment in the film, I think that even he himself sort of processes how painful that was, and also sort of the damage that it did to him to keep it inside for so many years. So, yeah, I mean, you never know when you're making a film when these moments are going to happen, and that was just, he was sort of stirred in that instance.
Yeah.
No, it's a great film. I mean, when that moment, it reminds me, I was just watching Off Topic. Letterman is doing a series. He's talking to Howard Stern, and how much people have to pour into their work with the exclusion of everything. Into the thing. So he talks about his love life and different things. Everything has been at a sacrifice for him to be this person. So, I mean, what are your takeaways? I mean, what brought you joy in making the film, and what do you hope audiences get from it?
I mean, one of the great joys in making the film was that Andre's approach to life is very unique and very inspiring. And he says in the film, you have to see the world through the kaleidoscope eyes of a child. And most days, I really think that he does. And I think that that's so important for everyone to remember. It's such a universal message. So I hope that people will leave the film, feeling like, be in awe of the world, see the wonder in the world, and also to feel like you can be what you want to be. You can be something different than what is expected of you. And he really did that.
Yeah. And that message also about being able to find a level of joy. We talk so often about Philadelphia and the challenges that this city has in terms of being able to give a basic quality of life to all of its citizens, and what it takes for people to still hold on to the dreams in the midst of the struggle. And so anyone who's able, like you have been, to take someone that we might see as iconic and give us the kind of the real wizard behind the curtain, as well as the personality that they have developed and the career that they have developed despite the challenges, is always welcome in the canon of what we have available to watch and learn from.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, I hope that, I think that seeing also how he struggled, even though it's difficult, is a form of inspiration. It can also be inspiring. So I hope that viewers will also take that from the film.
No, it's a great film. And also, big shout out not only to your husband, but Roger Ross Williams, who's been a guest on the show, is involved with the project as well.
Absolutely. Roger Ross Williams is one of our executive producers, and he was enthusiastic about the project from the very beginning, and, really, connects to Andre in so many ways. He's also from the South. His mother was a cleaning lady, and Andre's grandmother was a cleaning lady, and I think feels really a deep sense of connection, and it has meant so much to have Roger on board. So thank you for the shout out to him, because he's really important in this too. Yeah.
And let people know not only how they can see this film, but what else you have coming up next.
So I am developing a project about Sigmund Freud and some of his treatment of his first female patient, who has a lot of resonance today. So it seems like a totally disconnected topic, but I think when you dig a little bit, there are some similarities, and I'm really excited about it.
Excellent. I have some archival footage of Freud that my grandfather shot, so give me a call.
Wonderful.
I'm just kidding. But I mean, we would love to have you back on the show.
Yeah, when to talk about that,
have that
for
together,
sure.
So.
I would love that. This has been really a great conversation, so thank you for having me.
No, we want people to, and also if our listeners who are listening live, whoever calls in the next break, we have a pass for people to see this movie at the Ritz Bourse, courtesy of our friends at Magnolia. So in the next segment, we'll take a call and we'll give that away. So again, thank you. Thank
Wonderful.
You so much.
Kate Novak, thank you for joining us.
Thank you both. Bye.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we take our first commercial break of today's program, and Mike and I come back and talk about his Prince tribute going on later this evening, and some other things to see and do around the city. It's a busy weekend.
It's a busy weekend, and a lot of deals being made in the industry. So we haven't had a chance to catch up on some of the happenings.
Yes.
That are going on. So yeah.
So that and more as we continue on this week's edition of Reelblack Radio. Hang tight. From her debut solo album Journey to Golden, that is Detroit's Shantae Khan with a song titled Free Your Dreams. And I want to re-emphasize that message to so many people in our listening audience. The same way that Kate Novak has decided to uplift the story of Andre Leon Talley and what it's like to be a black man of big stature in the fashion industry, and to maintain, sustain, and have the respect of your peers. What it takes to get there is a lot. And it's not the overnight success that so many people promote, trying to, be Instagram stars or YouTube stars these days, and how that works. And the idea of being able to have the strength of character to continue to push toward those dreams, despite what people say about you, despite the way that people throw obstacles at you, is something to be celebrated. And so I'm glad that we're able to capture that story and be able to sit down with it in this film.
Well, in the film, we're talking about the gospel coordinator to Andre. He speaks about what gives him the strength, and he compliments his ancestors. He's like, it's the weight of that being, And as we speak, today woke up to the news. Anthony Bourdain committed suicide earlier this week. Kate Spade committed suicide. We just went through the Kanye thing, and then Jamie Foxx came out, and he said, so I think the more and more awareness of these issues, the kind of what this stress of the world, and the fact, again, like Kate is saying, that you constantly have to put yourself on display or feel like you're missing out on something. It can put a toll on people. So make sure that you stay connected to your ancestors, or your sense of purpose, or just a friend. Make a phone call. Don't hold it all in. I always tell my mother whenever she has some anxiety, it's like, just speak it, let it out. The more you think about it, the more it rotates in your brain, and it just builds up and builds up. And I'm sure like not everybody has somebody that they can speak to on a regular basis, but please try, please try.
And just be, and even the internal conversation that we have about what it is that we're really feeling and how we're processing it becomes really important in those moments where we feel burdened by stress. And I know that you aren't on Facebook anymore.
No longer, no.
But I wrote for Medium. I write on Medium, and then I post it to Facebook. I found out that Harriet Tubman is my 7th cousin, 3 times removed.
Oh, that's great.
So when you talk about the whole idea of the inspiration of the ancestors, I have had several moments this week where I had to sit with that. This whole idea of what liberation means, and what we're willing to do in order to have it, how we define it, how we go at it, and how we try and bring other people along in their own understanding, on their own path, and lead them towards some sense of freedom. And the quote that is often used with Harriet, I could have freed even more if they had known they were slaves. So this notion of how we overcome becomes incredibly important. And I said that we were going to talk about your piece tonight that honors the life and legacy of Prince. And one of the things that I will continue to say and lift up about the legacy that Prince left, besides the vast catalogs of music that he created, is also the fact that he was so open about sharing his love of other people's music. And when he saw an opportunity to mentor and to help groom other people's talent, how frequently he stepped in and did that.
Without question, we all need aiders and abettors.
Indeed.
You know, so nobody does it alone. Even when you see Andre Leontali's story, you'll see. I mean, Dana Vreeland, although apparently he doesn't speak about her, was very instrumental. So many people instrumental in the earliest phases. When you just see the microcosm, the micro version of what somebody can be. If you have any ability to bring more energy to that and help it grow, it's a great feeling when you see people succeed. So, but going back, we had a blessing. I was in New York on Monday with Charles Woods, and the video's on YouTube already. But we had an opportunity to go to Michael Eric Dyson. He has a brand new book out, and Harry Belafonte was there. Now, I didn't think he was going to be making any more public appearances.
Right.
He had basically said, I'm working
kind
on
of done.
stuff.
Yeah.
But it was a conversation. You can watch it on YouTube between Michael Eric Dyson and Harry Belafonte.
I missed that announcement. I got to go see that immediately.
Moderated by Sean King. And it's the book is called What Truth Looks Like. But basically, it's Michael Eric Dyson's retelling of the moment that Robert Kennedy invited a lot of black entertainment personalities,
which Harry Belafonte speaks about in his memoir. I forget the name of the book, but it's right on my shelf in my living room.
Right.
It was quite a moment.
Yes. Yeah. So, and Lorraine Hansberry, if you see the Lorraine Hansberry documentary, that was one of the last times that she actually left the house. She's in the midst of her ailment, and basically they were lobbying for a number of things, including having the president physically walk one of the students from Little Rock into the school to make a statement, and Kennedy refused. So there's a whole book about that now. But one of the things he speaks about, he's like, for all the folks, and we go back and forth. There's no right. Everybody looks at the kaleidoscope a different way, or sees has a different perspective. I was watching. I don't know how you feel. I should ask you this. How do you feel about Oprah in general?
What in the world? How does one answer a question that is that?
I go back and forth on Oprah. I don't like that. I go back and forth on Oprah because on one hand she symbolizes what the greatness of just humanity. You might be people still driving around in cars that Oprah gave them. But at the same time, I mean, she is almost an unattainable symbol, but she allows a lot of people to say, oh, well, racism, sexism doesn't exist because Oprah was able to get through the door. So I think but then when you listen to her, it's like you can't not be inspired by listening to Oprah after a while. Caught you?
I'm struggling with the way you just characterized that.
I'm saying,
does
like,
Oprah co-sign the notion that racism and sexism doesn't exist?
No, not at all. No, there's an excellent interview with Larry King and Oprah where she talks about the burden of having to represent that, and she from her, she's just like, from the time that she came up, in the Jim Crow South, she said, like, I was lucky to be born when I was, because if I was born 3 years later or 3 years earlier, I would have either gone to a segregated school or where I would have never had the opportunities to see the world the way I do.
Transition, right?
And her whole mission, the way she sees things, is through not just trying to humanize the black experience. Like, okay, it's the same as Cosby. It's like if white folks look at us and see us as humans and see the humanity of us and the love in us and tell stories that we can all identify with without seeing the color, without dealing with race, then that strengthens us all. But then the backlash is from black folks is like, well, hey, Oprah, what about us?
Well, all right. So in response to that in particular,
okay,
I think, and this is a debate I have engaged on my Facebook page in particular, I think that everybody is very quick because of the sustained oppression that black folks in America, if we just deal with America, have endured, that there is some compulsion in us to try and write the agenda for people who who are able to achieve high levels of wealth and fame. And I don't think it's fair. I think that people have the pet causes, or however you want to think about it, that are important to them, and they can't necessarily just abandon those and adopt the agenda that you think they should have in order to have maximum impact or whatever else. Everybody's here for a purpose, and if we all had access to Oprah's money and wealth, we could all do our own thing, and we could, see the change be the change we want to see in the world. All fine and dandy, but that doesn't mean that Oprah has to abandon her passions and her beliefs and the things that she has set forth as her priorities just because somebody else thinks she should do something different or better.
Right. So I'll bring that back to if you watch that, again, I would urge people to watch the Oprah Larry King Now interview from a couple years ago. But one of the things that Mr. Belafonte says is like the liberation movement was not just for black folks, it was for women, it was for all the oppressed people. But it's about navigating through the system. So the system of capitalism, the double side of it is that I haven't seen too many people get super rewarded and still take a stand in terms of, especially on the racial angle, like you can't be too black and still keep all your money.
Yeah, but see,
but all is great. Queen Sugar's great. All that stuff.
But that's what I mean. That there is a level of creative product that you manifest in the world, and then there's the philanthropic works that you do and other things that happen. I don't think everybody has to be super huge, fro rocking, fist raising. That's a box that we've created for people that symbolizes something that we think as a community is important. And I'm not saying that the values and everything behind it aren't worthy. I'm just saying everybody doesn't have to do it in the same packaging, on the same path. And I think we ask a lot of people who have these resources in order to fit some kind of ideal that we have built up in our heads as to what it's supposed to look and sound like. Yeah.
Well, I'm curious to read the comments, how people feel about it. I mean, I also bring that up because they're just opened an exhibit at the Smithsonian African American Museum watching Oprah.
Well, I was going to say, well, she was also a major contributor to
her
helping
name
it get
the
open.
First name
it's the name on the theater.
Yeah.
So I mean,
but there's a lot of her personal notes and effects and things as a whole. Takes up, I think, 3 of the gallery spaces, where it's just like 3 different phases of her life from her childhood to now, how she's become the media mega force icon that she is. And it may be as close to, in while she's alive, as close as you're going to see to a biography or autobiography or anything like that.
But that that brings us, you got to get into information about tonight, but that also brings us to the conversation that we're going to have at the opening of this exhibit that I put together of my great uncle's work as well, because we're going to talk about the power of archives and what it means to capture these moments, whether it's audio, whether it's video, whether it's documents, photography, all these things that we use to show we were here. And show what we were doing when we were here and how important all of that is. But part of what prompted me to specifically seek out the partnerships that are allowing us to present this work with SLOT and with the Penn School of Social Policy and Practice.
Your thing starts the 21st
on
of
the
January?
21st, yes. Is the fact that Marian Anderson's archives were donated to Penn's library for their continual preservation. And so, there are people who would be like, well, why wouldn't they go to a black institution? And what is it, why do we keep giving our stuff away? Well, listen, when you have raised $4.3 billion in a capital campaign and you have just started the second one, where now that's the goal because you can get it.
Right.
You got to understand that the people that want this stuff preserved want organizations with resources in order to make sure that it happens.
Yeah, it won't be being auctioned off.
And it's still in Philly.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? It'll still be accessible to so many different people. And that's what I mean. That we would love to have everything be super duper ultra black, whatever that means, and within the community. And the reality is that we've been here and we've been intermingling and we've been doing all of these different things. And so the judgment of the quality of a thing or the role of a thing is no longer defined by just what we would have said is the standard 50, 60 years ago. It continues to evolve and change, and we need to be in all these places and spaces and have this history maintained. Well, and have the conversations happening.
If we're gonna have, I'll get to. If we're gonna have these conversations, doesn't have the same conversation, which is always, because we like Harry Tubman, we could have been freed a long time ago. We could have had our own entertainment industry a long time ago. Yep. But there is a need and a perception that having greater access to resources makes the work better, which is not necessarily true, but for a long time it has been. But I think as we go into this next 10, 15 years, there's a tremendous opportunity for people. You literally, if you have a computer now, like a Mac now, you can basically make all the special effects that was in Star Wars 30 years ago. Yes. You can make better. So, yes. But I mean, there's always this feeling like I got to take my work to market, and it's like a sharecropping thing.
And let me just explain how that has manifested itself. Congratulations to Rodney, who won the tickets to see The Gospel According to Andre. Mm-hmm. I shot stills and video on Wednesday night at the Kimmel Center on both my relatively high-end Canon DSLR camera and my iPhone.
Phone looks better.
The image quality is relatively comparable, but the sound quality, now we're talking about big concert stacked speakers, right?
Yeah.
The filters on the audio on my phone made it sound like I was at a board, basically. And the audio from the Canon is all kinds of distorted.
Yeah, and we're filming now on an iPhone, and the same phone I also shot the Harry Belafonte. The sound wasn't as clear because Harry's very raspy.
Yeah.
But absolutely, the technology is insane. And anybody, don't wait for permission. That's the rule. And again, if I had an iPhone 10 years ago, I would have hours and hours and hours of my grandmother just telling stories. So, by all means, people should do that. And tonight at the Bank Building, 3750 Lancaster, 7:30 p.m. We're going to replay our 2-hour tribute to Prince. It starts with his very first appearance on television on American Bandstand and goes all the way up to his Arsenio Hall appearance with Third Eye Girl.
Nice.
And lots of weird stuff and Chappelle's skits and stuff. It's a roller coaster ride of Prince memories, and I hope
lots
everybody
of fun
comes out.
Mike D editing going on there, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, so I was watching it last night. I hope people come out again and celebrate. Wear your purple. I'm not giving any cake away, but if you got cake, bring cake. Prince will be in the building, and lots of spirits will be rolling through.
Yeah.
So and it's a pay what you wish at 3750 Lancaster.
7:30 p.m. That's that's technically 7 o'clock, accounting for CP time.
Well, we're gonna start right at 7:30. I'll start things a little earlier so that we hit right at 7:30, because I know y'all gonna be so amped up afterwards. You don't want to go and listen to your own Prince. Oh, and Prince has a new song out this week. It came out yesterday, a live accompaniment of "Oh Mary, Don't You Weep."
Oh, nice.
It's part of a album that's coming out in September called Piano and a Microphone. They're basically home demos that were done acoustic.
This is the thing I love.
I think it's 7 tracks. It's longer than Kanye's album. Kanye may have to give up his Grammy to Prince this year.
We'll talk a little bit about that when we come back.
Okay.
But where's the song available?
Right now, the Prince song is on Spotify and all the streaming services. I suppose you could buy it. That's as a preview, and then the whole album's going to come out in a couple months. So
excellent. Well, with that, meditate on that. We're going to take our final commercial break of today's program and then come back and wrap up with some more things that are happening in and around the city. Very busy weekend here in Philadelphia, and you need to be out and about taking it in. We'll be right back with the conclusion of this week's edition of Real Black Radio in just a moment. From the Arista Heritage Series, that is Ray Parker Jr. and Radio.
Okay.
With one of their big hits, You Can't Change That. I can't even tell you how many hours I spent in my basement listening to this album, listening to the original album.
So you were a Ray Parker fan before Ghostbusters?
Before Ghostbusters, and funny enough, my around the corner neighbors are related to him. So they have family reunion pictures.
You're just name dropping left and right.
Now,
Harry Tubman,
names.
Ray Parker. I don't know anybody famous live near me. George Duchel, that's about it. That's all, the only famous person on my block. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, but I'm just saying, I wouldn't have known about Harriet Tubman if it wasn't for technology, because I
know who Harriet Tubman is.
I'm talking about
your relationship.
My relationship.
Well, did you find this out from like some African website? Like I would do
Ancestry.com's We're Related app. You got to read the article.
Okay. All right. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
As long as you're not... See, I got off Facebook because of the scammers. Because they have you sending money all over the place. This, that, because so many people want to have a connection like that. Like nobody... When people say this is my 8th life, nobody says I used to be a janitor behind the 7-Eleven and I got shot. And everybody's like a king or a queen. So I'm literally sitting next to slavery royalty.
Well, first of all,
free slavery royalty.
First of all, I was going to say
liberated.
First
royalty.
of all, we are clearly not related through black people. So, so there's we're related through an English nobleman. Yes, it's a yeah.
Okay,
it's a whole thing.
All right, no more slavery jokes. I love you. Congratulations.
Right. Thank
you. So Ray Parker and Radio. That's when they were like taking all the lead singers and making them solo acts, and then all the other people were like starving, trying to figure out how to use a synthesizer.
Well, it always tickled me about Radio because the guy that did the high parts looked so much like I really thought it was his son or his little brother or somebody else, but I don't think they were any relation. They just looked a whole lot alike, and they groomed themselves.
Well, they're doing the same trick now. They got the Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike happening. The two lead singers in New Edition have split off, and now if you want to see them, you can't.
Who wants to go to a show where there is not at least one of Ralph or Johnny singing all the beloved lead parts? Bobby can't hit notes anymore. Bobby still got neuropathy deadening half his mouth.
Well, it's basically a Belle Biv DeVoe plus Bobby.
Plus Bobby.
Basically.
Boo.
I saw Belle Biv DeVoe,
but that's different from
New
Edition.
They still do the dance.
Yeah, that's why they had to change the name.
I mean, it's a short show. They do 3 songs and they're out, but it's like, thank you, but
they could have been contenders after the popularity of that miniseries.
They messed the whole thing.
They messed it all up.
They messed the whole thing up. They never came out with the reissues of the albums. They were supposed to put all these bonus tracks out. They never put out a DVD or Blu-ray of the miniseries.
Right.
They're in the middle of shooting the Bobby Brown story now. We're still waiting for the home videos.
Well, that's that's a BET thing.
Perhaps, but it was a license to print money. Everybody was walking around trying to get the Gumbies cut and all this kind of stuff.
And a whole new generation of younger people who watch the miniseries have fallen in love with the New Edition songs all over again.
I'm saying the younger people, they were all like into New Edition, and it was like a whole wave of TLC movies.
Messed it up, and
now
that's not the man, y'all. That's us
messing up the money. The way you didn't listen to the Ye album that came out last Friday.
I skimmed through the clips on iTunes.
I'm on the verge of not defending Kanye any longer. I mean, I'm not revoking this card the way a lot of people are. Like a lot of people are like traitor. Like how dare you? Since like the guy, he puts out good music. I don't. And literally, his label's called Good. So I can't not support the music, but after all the tirades and everything, and the fact that he went out and re-recorded the majority of the album after the TMZ incident, He rewrote the lyrics and re-recorded the stuff. The fact that it's just a complete narcissistic train ride through Kanye's mind is kind of disappointing. I would have thought he would have used at least one of the 7 tracks to at least justify his perspective on free mind and free living and everything. So I was disappointed by that. The first 2, like if you're listening to it, just skip the first 2 and then listen to the rest. It's really about his relationship with Kim, and it's a nice. There's some nice, lovely music, songs, breakups, and make you feel close to yourself.
Okay.
But then this morning I was up late. I couldn't get it. It looks like it just dropped as we speak. The Kids See Ghost album is now on all the stream services, which is Kanye and Kid Cudi's collaboration. So they had a listening party last night, but they started late. They showed up 2 hours late. Didn't start streaming the party until 1, and then, so I didn't get a chance to preview that adequately enough for me to say anything good, bad, or indifferent about that one.
There's not going to be a whole lot of positive that I'm going to be able to say about Kanye, so I'm going to give people other good news.
Okay, well, before we jump into the events, the last thing, 211 is a movie. It's playing, it's not in the city, but it's a new Nicolas Cage movie. It's playing in the area. I forget which theater, but Michael Rainey Jr. is the co-star, and Corey Hardrick is also in it. So it has a connection. Michael Rainey from Power.
Which I don't watch.
Who plays Omari's son. And what's interesting, they shot the whole thing in Bulgaria, but it's set in the United States, so a lot of it. So basically, it's training.
That must have been one hell of a task break.
It's training day with a kid in the back seat. So Nicolas Cage is was Michael Rainey. He beats up a kid at school because he's being bullied, right? So that makes it topical, right? So, but then as punishment, he's got to go on a ride along with Nicolas Cage and his new partner. So in the middle of the ride along, they get into the middle of a bank robbery heist, and so all kinds of things ensue. And they sent me the link to preview, but I got it late, so I only watched the first 10-15 minutes of it. It looks pretty good. I mean, for those who are just looking for a time passer, I think it's justifiable for theatrical, but if you got to catch the matinee though.
Facebook Live, and for those of you listening to the sound of my voice, yesterday I saw a preview of Incredibles 2, and it's really good. It's really good. That's all I can say, because I don't want to spoil it for you. And I will just say that for there to be such a gap between the physical release of the first film and the second one, this one takes place the next day. Funny. So it literally picks up from the very next moment of where the first film ended.
So if you were like born 2 years ago, you would never know the difference that it took 10 years.
That it took 10 years to get the second one.
Same thing with Ocean's 8, which is out today with Rihanna and all-star, all-women, Sandra Bullock, everybody in it. Another heist movie. So I guess if you're going to weigh your heist movies, I would lean not seeing both towards Ocean's 8 as far as your movie theatrical thing, but 211 might be a good video for you to check out.
For the animated fans, definitely put Incredibles 2 on your agenda. Yeah. You will appreciate so much about it from the family and gender perspective, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay, so what's going on this weekend besides mine?
And Odunde.
Of course, Chaos One.
For those people who love, Black Panther and want to talk about some of the real world implications of some of the things that they discussed in the film, there is a forum going on this evening sponsored by the Mayor's Commission on African and Caribbean Immigrant Affairs and the African Union, and it's titled Is Wakanda Forever? A Cross-Cultural Forum, Methods for Moving from Fad to Forever. And so that is happening at Gladfelter Hall on Temple's campus, room 107, tonight at 5 p.m.
Why are you telling people about stuff happening tonight? I got an event. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that 5
to 6:30. All right, you better hurry up. You're going to Wakanda Forever. You got to
Wakanda
rush
Forever,
over.
and they can get over to Lancaster Avenue. Want to remind people that the Finding Ashley Stewart model search is taking place tomorrow at the Ashley Stewart store at 101 East Olney Avenue. 2 to 5 p.m., but you got to get there earlier to sign up to walk the catwalk and to get your further instructions on how to be considered for that talent search. I think it's wonderful. We got some beautiful full-figured women that listen to the station. If you really are interested in this, then put on your best Ashley Stewart outfit, show up and show out. You could be one of their next cover models. And for those of you who are looking for some employment, Congressman Dwight Evans invites you to his federal services job fair happening tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Carousel House in Fairmount Park. So this is how you get a chance to interact with your federal reps and find out about programs and jobs that are available in the federal sector.
Fantastic.
Big deal. And we talked, of course, to Ernestine Shepard last week. She will be one of the featured speakers at A Better You, sponsored by United Healthcare and AARP. There's a morning session at 10, an afternoon session at 2 at the African American Museum, along with other special guests. So get over there and get that health information as well.
Fantastic. Well, we didn't get to the news, but real quick, Colin Kaepernick and Ava DuVernay are working on a sitcom.
Yes.
Cloak and Dagger, directed by Gina Bythewood, is out now on Freeform, which is a Marvel series. The pilot episode was directed by Gina Prince Bythewood. You also have Andra Day is going to be playing
Billie Holiday
with Lee Daniels directing. And Donald Glover is reportedly on the short list to star as Willy Wonka.
A prequel to the Willy Wonka story. I'm so not amused.
Well, we all know candy's bad for you get diabetes. But Donald, why not?
It's just a film that doesn't need to be done. But we gotta go.
Nobody needs to remake anything.
But yeah, all great stuff. Black folks are doing big things in arts and culture. Keep your eyes on it. We'll keep talking about it here on the air. Get over to the United Bank building tonight and get you some prints.
Now look in your basement. There might be some slaves still waiting to come out. Now that
you know what. Goodbye, Mike. Brother Shamari is coming up next.
Related.
Tune in again next week at noon for more Real Black Radio.
Free your mind, y'all.
Terrence Star with Mike D and Spike Lee. Brand new filmmaker born every day. Put a camera in his hand and let him lead the way. Let me get an Oscar, let me get an Emmy. Real Black woke up the filmmaker in me. Whether digital, 8mm, 35. Let's make the movies that can open the eyes.